Yeah.
All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez is absent. Councilwoman Eckhart.
Here.
Councilman Larka.
Here.
Councilman Lord.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation of the exits in the front and the rear. An electronic device, please put it on vibrate. The first item on the agenda this evening is a work session to the dedication of Fortune Ridge Road to the town. Make a motion to open that portion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Evening.
Good evening. You want me on the mic?
Please. You want the, hold on, I'll get you the.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Richard O'Rourke. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Keenan Bean. We serve as counsel to Glickenhaus Brewster Development, Inc. We're here this evening in connection with the dedication of a portion of the roads that have been constructed. And with me tonight is Brian Hildenbrand, who's a professional engineer with Kellard Sessions. He has been involved, along with Steve Trendell, who's now the project manager, and both of whom I believe have been out with Tom Fenton and with Michael Bruin, the highway superintendent, inspecting, examining the work that's been performed. And at this juncture, what we're proposing to do is to dedicate a portion of the road, which we believe has been brought up to total town road specifications. And we have, Brian can report as to where we are with respect to those inspections. That might be a good place for us to start if you want. Brian, you want to come over here?
I would just ask when you show, we see that there, maybe
sure.
set it so the public can see it as well.
So the camera
The
can get it. It'd be great.
We kind of pretty much, but when you're speaking, you can just show it to us and then put it so the public can see
Got
it
it.
too.
Just real quick before you do it, what's the difference between the green and the red houses? Is there any?
Yes, the greenhouses are what's constructed, and the red are yet to be constructed. So that shows the 17 constructed lots and the 7 lots along the dedicated road yet to be built.
Okay.
One lot is currently under construction, but I showed it as not built yet.
Okay.
So 17,
Have been built.
17 completed.
17 completed and 7 to go on that section?
Yes.
Okay. And overall, there's 103? What's the overall number for the whole?
103.
103, okay. Okay.
But that's
Both sides.
I know we're only talking about, I just want,
The north side.
right. The 103 lots, remember, the correct number on the south side, which we're not proposing now, I think it's at least 39 or 40 lots are over there. There's no building permits that have been issued.
No.
We're not asking for the road dedication. The only thing that's under construction presently there is the barn.
okay.
So, just so that you are aware of it, the paving was done, brought up to town specs, as well as the requirements that the town had for other safety measures. We paid 10 years ago $624,000 in recreation fees for all of the 103 lots. So, and as you know, we have our own community recreation center with a pool, workout area, and everything else. So I think the return on the investment for the town in terms of the $624,000 in relation to 17 homes has been pretty good. So
Can't blame us for that, though.
I'm sorry?
Can't blame us for that.
I'm not blaming anyone for it. I'm just stating a fact.
Okay.
But Brian, why don't you explain where you are with the
624,000
highway
was
super?
based on 103 units, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 624,000 was based, 624,000 was based on 103 units, right?
That's correct.
Right,
yes.
okay.
I was only
so-
teasing him on the other.
All right, okay.
Okay, yes, so last week I walked the site with Tom Fenton, the town engineer, and Michael Bruin, the highway superintendent, along with Steve Trendell from Fortune, to go over any outstanding punch list items. We had the as-built survey performed, and we had that with us. We walked the length of the road to be dedicated, and there were no outstanding issues with the construction, the paving, curbing, all of which we've inspected. My office has, we've submitted a certification letter certifying that the road we're asking to be dedicated was built to town standards according to the approved plans. The outstanding items discussed were kind of finishing touches such as speed signs, brush clearing within the right-of-way, including along Dean's Corners Road to improve the sight line from shrubs that have grown in over time, a washout that occurred behind the curb line, all of which Fortune Ridge has started and have completed to date, except for the installation of the street signs, which should be done by next week. So as soon as that's completed, we'll resubmit back to Tom Fenton for his sign-off on the just a final sign-off for compliance with this road section.
Now, in that case, if that goes through at the time, you will be here then for the August 29th meeting to get it approved by the town? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, what we're planning by way of the schedule is for us to have, and Steve said to me today that all of the matters of they're minor in nature, all of which will be completed and inspected by Tom Fenton prior to the planning board meeting, at which the planning board will also review everything and make a recommendation back to the town board. And obviously you'll get a letter from the consulting engineer as well, indicating that we're in compliance and everything's in order. So that's, and then thereafter we know we come back on August 29th. In addition, and I should mention this, and I sent copies to the supervisor today.
And I forwarded to all town board members, we have it this evening.
Right. And so Will Stevens and I have, I prepared a draft. He gave me comments. There is an agreement set forth which notes that there remains to be in place with the town in excess of $4.8 million. Now, that money is security for whatever improvements remain that were bonded. Your subdivision regulations prohibit the reduction of the bond to less than 50% of the original bond estimate. So consequently, the $4.8 million that you hold represents more than what is anticipated to be the cost of all of the improvements. And in addition, the agreement specifically reflects that over time, there is a consumer price index paragraph, which of course allows for the escalation of the cost if there in fact is any issue with the money that's being set aside for pavement. That money being set aside for the pavement is further assurance that at a later point in time, when the last certificate of occupancy is issued for the development, at that time, if there is a necessity for further improvement of that portion of the road that's being offered now in dedication, there is sufficient money to cover the for it to be asphalted all over again. So there's a lot of security there.
Do you have any idea if you were to complete it today, what that cost would be? Do you have any idea?
About, I think it's probably around $3.9 million.
3.9.
Yeah, and you've got almost a million more than that.
Well, with inflation, because again, you've been down there for a while, there's approximately 24 homes built, and it may not happen for quite some time.
We would hope it would happen much
I hope it
faster.
happens the day after tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
I hope it happens the day after tomorrow.
Well,
But that's
so
not
do we.
reality.
And so, and so obviously, one of the things that the the concern we have is that you have homeowners up there that are paying a lot of money in taxes. And I've been in contact with the new supervisor of transportation, Mary Smith, for the Brewster School District. And I have copies of emails if anybody wants to see it. I'm trying to obviously get the roads dedicated so that the buses can get up the road to pick up the kids. And so my understanding is that there's at least 3 families that have children that are in the school district. And so that would be something that would be good for the residents, that you don't have to wait at the bottom of the hill for the buses.
Now, one question I have, I've seen it happen before here in Putnam County, I'm not going to say here in the town of Southeast, where people put up letters of credit, they have bonding, and when they go to draw down on the bond, the letter of credit, sometimes it disappears. What guarantee, how is this guaranteed that this bond is there, and how does it get renewed every year? Say it takes 20 years. How do we have that guarantee that money stays there?
My recollection of the bond, and this, I'm unfortunately so old, I remember when I did this. Many years ago, when I was town attorney, what we did is we changed the way the bonds were posted, particularly with letters of credit. A letter of credit cannot be, it cannot be canceled until and unless there is some kind of, I think it's a 60-day notice. Will would know better than I, that in fact it's being canceled. But we can't cancel the bond because the language that's in place, it remains in place.
So do we get a renewal every year to say that bond's in effect for the next year? How does it work?
There's a date certain, as I don't have the copy of the bond right in front of me, but there is a date certain by which there is a renewal, and I can't say whether it's annually. I think it's for a longer period of time, but there's an automatic renewal to that irrevocable letter of credit, as I recall.
And if it is not renewed properly, is the town notified? Usually that's what happens if they're listed as bondholder?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know, the other thing too is you have to remember there's been an investment of over $130 million. And right now, if we were to default on the security, I dare say if we came back and we needed to get some building permits, I think we would have a problem. I'm just, you know, I mean, you're secure in many different ways.
Okay. Now, there's no letter of credit involved with this, right? This is strictly...
No, it's right. It's there now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
Yes, please. Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Does the CPI increase, which I read about, does that come out of the bond itself? How does that work?
The allocation for the road is a set aside, and that portion increases based upon the CPI out of the existing $4.8 million. So as it stands right now, the security that's in place is was $4.8 million, but I think the cost of a full-blown completion of everything is about $3.9 million. Right. So there's a pad in there. Now, I will also say that the improvements continue by the developer. I mean, obviously, the barn is under construction. It is hoped that that side of the property will be marketed for those that are interested in an equestrian style subdivision with the ability to the homes are expected to be more expensive than the ones that are on the north side.
Right. So the CPI increase would come out of the existing bond.
That's correct.
We're not adding to that.
That's correct.
I'm just looking way forward. I mean, I hope that these are sold, but if it turns out that it goes on and on and on, that the CPI increase would eat away at that $4.8 million bond. I know you're saying it's $3.9 million right now, but that can change, as we all know. I know times when oil prices increase dramatically, that although the CPI goes up, it often doesn't. I remember problems with asphalt and pricing. So my concern is looking ahead to protect our taxpayers. I also...
And so what's the problem? Because let's remember, as I said, we cannot continue to build, or we can't get building permits unless you're secure. So, I mean, at a later point in time, if
If we
4 or
need-
5 years from now, somebody says, well, you know, guess what? We need some more security.
Right.
And if you don't post the security, you're not going to get a building permit.
Right.
You're going to get the security.
Right. And my one other concern would be, are we going to do this all, this has not been done before. We usually don't,
I understand.
as you know. And is this going to be a piecemeal thing? Is this going to, are you, in other words, after these 2 roads, half of one or whatever, and then the full road at Knollwood, after those are dedicated, are we going to see you back here to dedicate more piecemeal? Do you know the answer to that?
I do not know the answer to that. I don't anticipate doing that. We know what it costs to do this, just so that you are aware of it. If he did not dedicate, if the property owner did not dedicate the road, what you're looking at is an annual maintenance cost of about $15,000, which he would continue to have to do. In addition to that, there's insurance annually of about $5,000, all right? The cost of that over the next 15 years is well, what we're looking at is maybe about $150,000, $200,000 over time. To do the paving, to do all of the improvements that were necessary, it's already cost them over $300,000. The reason for doing it is twofold. One, the residents that are paying close to $20,000 or more annually in taxes can't get school buses up there. And then the second component to it is that from a marketing perspective, instead of having just a top course, if you have a finished road, it just, when you're trying to sell $1 million homes, it's a better sell.
Okay. And my final question really relates to, which you've kind of answered, but in other words, mailboxes now can be along on are mailboxes up yet?
I don't,
Or-
yeah.
Yes. And can they go on secondary roads that have not been improved, that aren't dedicated, or do you know?
Post office. Well, no, I don't think they can.
Okay.
What, Will?
It's up to the post office.
Okay, okay. And so, my last concern would be, and I think this is good for our residents who are up there. no matter
I'm sorry?
what. I think it is good for our residents who are up there. I don't care really how much they pay in taxes. I want to look after, you know, certainly kids getting on school buses. But is it going to be fine for kids that are moving into new housing up there they'll be picked up there, but not in front of their houses? And that's why I'm looking at the piecemeal question that just,
Well,
That's up to the school, how about
yes,
the bus
I
stops?
I can't control that.
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah, the problem that I have, and it's the new supervisor of transportation, she said, I'm willing to speak with you, I can give you copies of it, in regards to the request to move the bus stops into the new development. This can be done when the town of Southeast has taken over responsibility to maintain the road. And she's working on the schedule. I explained to her what we're doing, the process, and she said, fine, well, hopefully it'll move along and we'll be able to pick up the kids.
Okay, thank you.
Eric?
No, I don't have any questions.
John?
Looking at the agreement, and property owner has $44.8 million in surety for site work, of which 1.9 million is for site road completion. So of the 4.8 million, there's other work that bond is being held for.
Yes.
It's not just road work.
Not just for this road, no, it's for the road on the south side where you only have the top course. The road is not finished.
Okay. Right now, there are 17 completed and 7 not completed. 7 residents that are not completed yet. And that, I guess, from showing on that map. So if the road is dedicated, you're going to still be doing construction work on those other 7
We sure hope so.
dwellings. Okay.
Yes, but one of those is already under construction. The house is actually more than framed out at this point, so, yeah.
So the roads already have a top course now.
Yes,
And if there is need for improvements to the road because of construction equipment and so forth, will you be doing that maintenance work, or is that now, once it's dedicated to the town, is that now our responsibility?
My understanding is we're setting aside, and I would defer to Tom Fenton and to the highway superintendent, to the town attorney. You know, we're setting aside what we know would be the current estimate if we had to repave the entire road. That's the $286,000. We spent $250,000 doing it now.
Right.
The estimated cost, if we had to do the whole road, is $286,000. Now, you know, if there's some kind of egregious problem with the road, I'm sure that you're going to look to us to help you out. I don't think necessarily that the town highway superintendent is going to want to be going out there and doing the work. But, I mean, the money's there, so.
Well, but I'm saying, but what's the mechanism? If that work needs to be done, do we come to you and tell you, you have to fund this, or do we just take it out of this bond amount, or what? I would.
That's a good question. I think it could go either way.
Well,
I mean, the problem we have is that if we want to get a building permit and the road is not in good shape, then what's going to happen is we're not going to get the building permit.
right, so.
So then that
your
means
decision?
that we'll probably end up paying for it.
Okay. All right, and then there's another, the town shall hold, I guess, 4.8, again, to wit, the sum of $286,000, 15% portion for possible asphalt top course until the last certificate of occupancy. And I know there's a 15% portion shall increase annually according to the CPI. What if that $286,000 is not sufficient to bring the roads up to a proper standard at the completion of the last residence?
It's not $286,000. It's $286,000 that is subject to a CPI, a consumer price index increase.
Okay.
That is the standard way that you would approach it in terms of answering your question. It would be based upon what pundits there are that estimate these costs of construction. That's the way it's done. So
basically, you're saying out of the 4.8 million, you're telling us that we're not going to put anything more up. There's $286,000 that's already been identified that should be the cost to complete this last course of repairs in the end. My concern would be that I would want, if I was dedicating the roads, to be assured that the developer or the project manager would make sure that the last course of road work was completed by the developer.
When? Now?
At the last, no.
At the end?
At
And
the
I
end.
believe that's what we've asked for.
Well, I don't see that in any of the language.
all right, let me refer you to a paragraph.
Okay, good, thank you.
If you were to take a look at paragraph 2, it says the following. The town shall continue to hold $4,800,000 in surety and shall allocate 15% of the site road portion of the site work, to wit, the sum of $286,621.25, the 15% portion, for possible asphalt top course repairs until the last certificate of occupancy for the last residence in the subdivision is issued by the town's building department on the north parcel.
Understood. And if $286,000 is not sufficient to complete that course of repairs to get it to a town standard, I would want to have some language in here saying that the property or the developer or the project would make those monies available.
They would have to,
That's
they
what
wouldn't
the,
get a
excuse
seal.
me, that's what the $4.8 million
Oh, but the-
bond is for.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just going to the end.
This is just, this agreement is only to assure that if there's anything that happens to the road that we're taking,
Right.
that there's sufficient monies there that can be used to replace the top course.
Okay, but the 4.8 million is for everything, everything that still needs to be done. And the 2.86 is for all the repairs to all the roads, not just the one that they're going to have dedicated right
Mr.
now.
Lord, forgive me, I got to correct you. It's not $286,000 at the end of the, it's
Okay.
$286,000. If you read the next paragraph,
Okay.
it says, the 15% portion shall increase annually on each August 1st, beginning in the year 2020, by any percentage increase in the CPI in June of each year, starting in June of 2020, measured against the CPI in the year CPI in June of 2019, and shall adjust annually thereafter until a certificate of occupancy is issued for the last residence. So there's an escalator that's built in there
Yeah.
to anticipate your concern that is there going to be enough money. Other than that, I'm not quite sure. This is the standard fare that you do insofar as a contract where you need an escalator for construction costs or other things.
Understood.
I think, if I can, I think kind of what John's getting at, and I might have misinterpreted, but that in general, this would be fine because it's, you know, it's standard fare, but because you're dedicating a road and there's been no increase in this, it's just built in already to the, I mean, there will be an increase, there will be a CPI on the 286,000, not on anything else. So I think it's just why wasn't there something in addition? Is that what you mean, John, to the?
Well, it's basically, you're just telling us where the money is. It's not
Where it's going.
guaranteeing that you will make those improvements if the money that is being held in CERDI is not sufficient to complete the roads or to bring the roads to the standards that we would need in a final dedication.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
don't understand your question. There's an escalator built in for that portion of the road that's being dedicated. That's based upon the common denominator, numerator, whatever you want to call it, that you have and you build into a contract. That's number one. Number two, remember, this is a project. Unfortunately, we were delayed for 3 years for litigation. We missed the market. That money's been held by the town. And all we're trying to do is try to be accommodating to the homeowners so that their children can be picked up by the bus. They're paying taxes. We're providing a security level that is standard fare in terms of how it's figured out. And if the concern is that, you know, 3 years from now, more security is necessary, if the town engineer and the planning board and the town board says, you know what, the $4.8 million is not enough, well then I guess we're going to have to deal with it at that time. But right now, I can't do anything better than this.
Okay.
If I could interrupt for 1 second. John, you understand that the road that they're offering for dedication is complete?
Oh, I
With a
understand
top
that.
course, everything's done.
I understand that,
It's
but I
better
also
than-
understand that
It's better than
road
many
that's-
of the other roads in this town.
But I understand that road that's been completed is also going to be the thoroughfare for construction
It will
vehicles
be the
going
thoroughfare,
throughout the project.
and that is why this dedicated portion of that bond is there to, if necessary, repave.
I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can be sure that that's going to be enough at the end. That's all.
I think I have a question. So, if John, if I am understanding this correct, what you're saying is, if let's say it costs $500,000 to repave this road, which probably won't in 10 years, and there's 4.8 million, can we take 500,000 out of that to fix the road?
The security is there, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Arguably,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you. I think
Yes.
that answers what I thought your question was.
Well, yeah,
Okay, here's a question then. Of the $4.8 million, are you drawn down on that during that period of time to do repairs to other roads as well? Or is it
No,
point
no,
four?
I
just wanna
can't
answer-
touch that money.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. So we got
Yeah.
$4.8 million, and they're not drawn
Yeah.
down. And when they go to get a CO for a building, they're not going to get a CO if they don't meet the standards.
thank you. I'm not sure I understand, but I was just wanted to make sure that that the town wasn't going to be on the hook for road repairs that there wasn't a sufficient amount of money in place with the bond that is being held at this point. So, and I was looking for perhaps some kind of statement in an agreement saying that the developer would make sure that those repairs were, or the road was brought up to the proper standards if the 4.8 million was not enough or had been drawn down to a point where there was not enough to complete the repairs.
It's not being drawn down. Your subdivision regulations prohibit us from getting any further reduction. We can't draw it down. You have that money, you keep it, and unfortunately, we're not going to get it back until we finish this project. And if we don't, if that's not enough money at that point in time, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, it's based upon your engineer's certifications. Our engineer has to certify that everything's done properly.
Cool, thanks.
Eric?
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll put it
Thanks.
on the August 29th meeting
Thank you.
for dedication, or not.
Yeah, you'll
Thank
be
you very
going to
much.
the planning board, right?
I'm sorry?
You're going to the planning board next?
Yes, we have to go to the planning board. They will receive the report from Tom Fenton and from Michael Bruin. Will can explain to you what happens is that they then formulate a recommendation that comes back to you for review and action. That's it.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for
If I could
coming.
ask one more
Thank you very
question. One of the concerns I had was that while the balance of the subdivision continues to be pre-construction, if you will, that at the end of the main road that goes up, that there is some sort of a barrier so that that it's made very clear that the town road would end at that point.
I think, Steve, we could put up a fence right at, sort of like the white fence that you have by the water tower. We did something like that. You know, there's a construction trail that's up on top, so.
Right.
But
I'd be- I
there would be a
think it's-
delineation, yeah.
It's not only for the town's protection, but I think it's for your protection as well.
Oh, believe
You
me.
don't want people, blasting through there and, doing whatever they do up in.
And we actually have gates on all those areas, but we could do one right there too. Yeah.
Is there a sign on that road now?
A sign?
Yes.
Street sign?
Identifying the street sign?
Yes.
And is it white, meaning it's a private road right now, and turns green when we take it over?
It's green.
It's green now, but it's not a town
It's always
road.
been green.
Okay.
There was a mistake made, from what I understand, the former project manager, when he ordered the signs, he ordered the wrong color. So he put them up, and
So it's already our road according to sign.
Yeah.
the road, the signs are in place. What can I tell you?
Okay, now, just at the top, maybe where you could, the town road ends here, private road here on in type thing, is that what they're looking for, you think, or
Yeah,
what?
well, yeah, the other roads aren't open up there.
Okay,
They're gated off.
fine, good,
So,
okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay,
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
okay, make a motion to go into the regular meeting,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
First is correspondence, I waive the reading, so moved,
Second.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the voucher list, $1,101,877.61, so moved,
Second.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Waive the reading of the budget transfers, so moved,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, it's a resolution, non-disturbance agreement, 60 Lakeview Drive. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute and deliver to the owner and/or contract vendee of the premises located at 60 Lakeview Drive an agreement which provides, inter alia, that the driveway serving the premises and the shed, which are currently located on the portions of a paper road, may remain undisturbed so long as the driveway or structure is not expanded, modified, or enlarged except for standard and regular maintenance, and be further resolved that the town clerk shall forward a copy of this resolution to the building inspector and assessor forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second.
Everyone understand what we're doing here?
No.
It's, a similar occurrence happens up on Peaceful Hill. There's a paper road that leads back toward the town water tanks for the Peaceful Hill District. It's a
Right.
paper road. It's been on paper forever. There's nothing there. And over time, it's Sunset, is it Sunset Drive?
Yeah, well, it's,
Continuation?
no, it's not, but
Name like Larch.
it's parallel to Sunset and a few houses down, going between Lakeview and Tulip?
So the bottom line is, it's an invisible, it's a road on paper, so that's why they call it a paper road, and it's been there, God, since
Who
they,
owns the road?
If I could, it's
Tell me.
mapped, it was mapped when they did the Lakeview Manor subdivision.
Oh, okay.
It was never opened and improved. So when the map was filed, it shows as a street, but it's never been improved. And what happened over time is the persons living next to it sort of
moved in.
took advantage of the fact that they could run their driveway down there and maybe put a tool shed on it. That's what happened in this instance, when these, the people that own it currently, it didn't seem to be a problem when their title company wrote their title insurance, but when the new buyer came along, it turned out that it was raised as a title issue. And the only way that we could resolve it, short of doing well, there's several ways to resolve it. One would be to go after the owner and say, you've got to remove your driveway, which I don't think would be appropriate. And the other would be to enter into agree to quitclaim portions of that paper road, which is owned by the town, which would be a permanent way of dealing with it. This is, as an interim, we can say to them that we're not going to require, there's no current plans to improve the road. So, so long as that shed and driveway stay as they exist, the town will do nothing to enforce a removal.
Have we done this in the past? Is this a common thing, or does this ever go to this?
It's not a really common thing. The fact that people have built on paper roads is very common.
Yeah.
I was involved personally in a situation in the village when I lived in my grandmother's home on Garden Street. My grandfather, I guess, decided at some point in time to expand his house into a paper road that went between Garden Street and Oak Street, which would have been an incline of about like that,
Yeah.
but it was mapped. And in that instance, the village board, I think, quitclaimed the roadbed portion of the paper road to my grandmother's estate, which
Okay.
is a little bit more of an involved process.
This isn't something that would normally go to a ZBA or something
No.
like that.
Nope.
And it's not something that the owner could go back to the title insurance company that gave him title insurance and look for him to solve
Well,
it.
I'm sure there's been some discussions currently, because I'm not involved in the transaction and I haven't seen the paperwork, but I know that there was a title policy issued when the current owners bought, and the driveway was as it is today before they bought it. So I'm sure they have, if there were a problem, they'd have a claim against their title insurance company.
So this is something that you don't find any problem with legally for us to?
No, I prefer to do it on this, on sort of this kind of basis, rather than, because sometime down the road, the town might want to improve that.
And
They would have to move their driveway and the shed if it's there.
so, but if we do find that there is encroachment into the space by the driveway or the shed, at some point, do we have any?
There is now.
There is
Okay.
now, yeah.
There is
That's
now.
what we're basically saying, as long as it stays the way it is, we won't enforce we won't go to court and
Cool.
cause them to remove it.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion?
I think
All
I
in fa-
discussed it.
All in favor? Are you disgusted or disgusted?
Disgusted.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 5, resolution, Durkin Water Company, Drew Realty LLC, 120 Fields Lane, ARB recommendation. I got the drawings here if anyone would like to see them. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architectural Review Board dated July 25, 2019, in connection with the application of Durkin Water Company, Drew Realty LLC, which seeks to amend its site plan to accommodate an additional general business use, reconfigure parking, add additional outdoor storage, modify wetland plantings, and construct a 4,000 square foot barn on premises located at 120 Fields Lane, tax map number 78.-2-5 and 78.-2-6 in the town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York, and that such report shall be incorporated in any final site plan subsequently reviewed and approved for this project by the planning board. So move for discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 6 is Southeast Duncan Batista, 1617 Route 22, ARB recommendation. Just for those who are interested, it's a junction of Route 22 and 312, right by, what's that place called?
Ski house.
Ski house, used to be a Texaco gas.
Yeah, okay. Ski house. Well, I was thinking of the other,
Across from Value Village and
Across from
Kelly's
Kelly's.
Corner.
Kelly's. Okay, anyway. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architecture Review Board dated July 3, 2019, in connection with the application of Batista Southeast Duncan, which seeks to develop a freestanding office, donut sandwich retail shop on the site of a former gas station located at 1617 Route 22, tax map number 46.1-21 in the town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York, subject to the conditions set forth therein, a copy of which is annexed hereto and made part hereof, and that such report shall be incorporated in any final site plan subsequently reviewed and approved for this project by the planning board. So move for discussion.
I'll second with a quick correction. It's a freestanding coffee, donut, and sandwich retail shop. There is no office there.
Well, they might say an office because they do their bookwork in there. That's what I think they mean by office.
I don't read office. I might
Oh,
have a different.
you want, wait.
No,
so-
no, no, I just read freestanding coffee,
says it.
donut, and sandwich retail
As
shop.
printed, yeah.
Oh, what, did I say office?
You said office, that's
Really?
You read office, but.
instead of coffee. That's why I'm correcting it.
I don't drink coffee.
I know, I don't know why, I don't know why you can't.
Well, I
that's
had
why
a
you want
drink
to make
before
it
the
office.
meeting, leave me alone.
Drink coffee.
Anyhow, I just was correcting that so it was clear.
I really did that somehow? Yeah, you guys said I did.
You
I'll
can
leave-
play
I'll-
back the
I'll look at the
tape.
tape later.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Okay. Other discussion other than that?
As Lynn spoke.
No, she ain't getting away with that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, number 7, resolution adjusting base proportions for real property tax assessment purposes. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby accepts the recommendation of the town assessor and hereby authorizes the town clerk to sign and provide the Office of Real Property Services Form RP-6703 for the town of outside the village and town-wide homestead portion containing the adjusted base proportion of 60.728982% and 60.020064% respectively pursuant to real property tax law and New York State rules and regulations in form and substance as may be approved by the town attorney. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 8, a resolution local law amending Chapter 54 Building Construction and Fire Prevention and Chapter 138 Zoning. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby adopts local law number 6 of 2019, which amends chapters 54 and 138 of the Code of the Town of Southeast to clarify that an applicant for a building permit has up to 60 days to file an appeal to the zoning board of appeals upon the issuance of a denial by the building department, and be further resolved that the town clerk be and is hereby is authorized and directed to A, enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the code book of the town of Southeast, and B, give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing such with the Secretary of State of New York within time required by law. So move for discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I just want to thank Will for helping get this all clarified. This will really be much easier, I think, for our planning department and building, so I'm glad this is getting done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, supervisor report. Well, guys, believe it or not, today's August 1st. It seems like it was just January 1st. Town finances are pretty much on target for the entire year, with, again, the exception of the courts with the revenues. I'll be preparing the budget starting this month and have it to you by September. And I think we have a good base for next year. I know, Lynn, you don't like these reports anymore because you never got them before, but now you get them. What do you want?
I like to have them. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, with that, public comment? Town board comment?
I'd like to thank all the volunteer firefighters. The parade was wonderful as usual. Also, I attended the I-684 consortium sponsored by the DOT. They're going to be doing a study over the next 12 months. The public can be involved there'll be several public hearings. So this is really precipitated by Warren Lucas, the supervisor in North Salem, because our secondary roads are so overused with people, with the traffic that's built up so much on 684. So I think the DOT is very interested in doing improvements that will make a difference, and I'd love to hear from anyone who, I've already heard from Eric, so, but I'd love to hear from people of what kind of improvements they would like to see. They're really brainstorming, keeping an open mind, and now is the time to contribute any thoughts that anyone has. So, and the one other thing I'd like to bring up that I read about this week, Tony, is the $750,000 that the county is going to be spending on a study for the Route 6, proposed Route 6 sewer connection to Danbury. Would it be appropriate at this stage to have, I mean, I really would like to know what's going on and what's proposed. We haven't gotten a presentation. And despite the fact that the county's doing the work, I do think that the town should be involved enough to really know what's going on. Since the article came out in the Putnam Press, I have had a few constituents ask me about it, and I don't think I know as much as I should, so.
Well, I have to admit, I've been asked by many residents, especially a few people closer to where the light is down by Brewster Ford in that area there, because they need it probably more than the area that's coming in. Right now, they really don't know a lot, in all honesty, other than there's going to be possibly, they're trying to get a connection. 750,000 sounds like an awful lot of money to me to do a study. I thought I misread it and it was 75,000.
Right.
So we can ask, I mean, Bruce Walk was here probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. The county is, I mean, we've heard from our local legislators on the project, but there's not much they can tell us because they don't know much. So right now, it may be a bit premature. The thing that is interested by most of the people involved with it on that Route 6 corner is what they're going to cost us. And I think that's what the purpose of the study is. So, I mean, we can ask them to come. I don't think they can tell you much other than it's going to cost $750,000 to do a study, and when we're done it, we'll give it a result.
Well, the other figure I read was that they think the implementation will be around 12 million. I mean, I know they do talk to you, and that's great, and you correspond with all of us about it, but I still think it might be,
I'll ask the two legislators from the town to share.
Okay. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but
it doesn't hurt to know, but again, I can tell you now, they don't honestly know a lot at this point in time.
Okay.
But I'll ask them to come.
I've been attending the meetings.
I want to ask them to come to our next meeting because it's going to be
Jam-packed.
pretty much built up. So I'll ask them to come to the first one in September.
Okay, that would be great. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm on the Putnam County Traffic Safety Board, and one of our residents, I guess earlier in the year, mentioned Cobb Road being used as a cut-through for from 84 to 684. And jumping on what Lynn said, with the I-684 consortium, all the towns along I-684 are dealing with excessive traffic on their small local roads. So the resident on Cobb Road asked if there was any way we could do anything to get more enforcement on the roads. The sheriff suggested, and also a DOT rep at the Putnam County Traffic Safety Board, that we might want to put a for local traffic only sign on Cobb Road. And we did that, and I haven't heard from the resident again, but we did hear from residents on other roads that have now experienced increased traffic, Friendly Road and Cobb Road, because if people take those roads, they can legitimately say that they did not see a local traffic only sign when they made that cut through. So I thought that it might be worth putting for local traffic only signs on those roads as well. And I mentioned it to the DOT rep at the County Traffic Safety Board, and she said, if we do that, DOT may withhold state funding for our roads. So I mentioned it to Tony, and he told me that I think we have 90 miles of roads in Brewster, and the amount of road that we would sacrifice state funding for would be about 1%.
About 1.33.
Yeah.
Now, this report was done about 4 years ago. I believe I've seen a number recently of 96, but I can't find where it is, and it didn't identify the roads. But just so you know, this report was done on 9/7/2014. So at this point in time, it's 5 years old. I know how many roads we may have taken over, so if someone doesn't call and say, oh, Mr. Hay is wrong, it's not 90.77, but the document I took the information from shows it to be 90.77. Cobb Road is 0.69 miles. It's got two sections, 0.26 and 0.43. Friendly Road, they have 0.38, and St. James, 0.26. That comes out to 1.33, and it equals 1.21% of the total roads for the town of Southeast.
Yeah, and I think you said that we would sacrifice about $3,400 a year if DOT did maintain that stance that they would not fund local roads if we prohibited.
And that number is based on the CHIPS funding for 2018, where we received $251,667. But whatever the number may be for
Yeah.
the funding from the state, just multiply it by 1.21%, and that's what we would lose.
I don't know if right now the Cobb Road people are experiencing any relief. If they're using Friendly and St. James, then they probably aren't, because Friendly and St. James are just avenues to cut into COD from different directions. And, you know, depending on the time of day, they probably use St. James when they're going to work in the morning, and they probably use Friendly when they're coming home. And
Well, all I can say, John, is I know what we're trying to accomplish. I know people that live on that road. You know, when it was dirt, it was really bad. Now it's paved, and it's a very narrow road. But I'm going to tell you right now, we start doing every road in this town almost is going to say, I want a local traffic only. Because I'm telling you right now, on Brewster Hill Road, it is like the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Okay? So if these go in, I'm quite sure the line is going to start forming for many roads in this town because of the traffic coming in from Connecticut, the backup on 684 heading towards the city. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have a lot more requests, and when does it stop?
I also, I don't know how enforceable those signs are. So
Well, if you're speeding, they can say something, but local, you say, I'm going down the road to see my friend, and, you know, they're not going to.
but if you're speeding, you're speeding.
Yep.
Right, they have to have cause to stop you, they can't just.
It almost sounds like maybe we just need more enforcement on those roads, but I don't know how enforceable local traffic only is, so is it worth the reduced revenue? I don't know.
well, one of the reasons for doing it was, I think, the sheriff's suggestion that for local traffic only, I think most of the offenders had out-of-state plates. So, you know, if those cars were on that road, you know, sheriff could reasonably pull them over if they're not a local, if they don't identify themselves as a local vehicle.
And then do what?
Well, then
I don't-
have that as a means for stop.
Right.
I think there'd have to be
but-
cause, but
But still,
that's
there's, I don't
cause.
know that,
Okay.
and hope people from Connecticut don't watch this, but I don't know that they can get a ticket for that. So what good is the sign? I don't know.
Well, that was the recommendation, and that's why I
Yep.
think we started doing it, and I don't know.
Well, I assume it did cut down on traffic if people are, I'm not saying, I agree it could really snowball, I agree with Tony, but it obviously, if people are finding workarounds, it was successful for Cobb. But I understand how nature hates a vacuum and people are gonna go another way.
I have a thought, and maybe this is just logistics, but what if you marked the road past St. James on Cobb, and then you mark the road after Friendly? So you just do that small portion, and you take the signs that we have, you move them closer. It would actually lessen the amount of road that's marked through traffic only, but it would still serve the same purpose, that they wouldn't be able to cut through there technically.
well, you'd have to come at the end of Friendly, put a sign there, you know, no, when you come right to the stop sign and say, I don't know what's going to accomplish.
I don't know, and we haven't heard from the person on Cobb whether there's been an improvement,
Yeah.
so
Why don't you call them and find out?
Yeah,
I will, yeah.
yeah, let's do that and see where we go.
You know, Star Ridge Road is getting a tremendous amount of speeding traffic now because of this as well.
Yeah,
And was redone.
I mean, it's big time. And, you know, 124, and they're going down to North Salem, going over, I think it's Salem Road. I mean, it gets really, and that's why Warren's, you know, led the charge there as well, because all the traffic coming from Putnam going into Westchester, taking the back roads when they're coming up from the city at nighttime, it's bumper to bumper to bumper, but they're moving, and they get off at Hardscrabble Road and, you know, tour around and go here, they go down Fields Lane, then they go into North Salem. It's a real big problem.
okay.
Thanks. Eric?
I have no comment.
Okay, we're going to go into executive session. It was not listed. It's something that came up today that we were going to have a we're going to have an executive session. There'll be no action taken as a result of the meeting.
And Tony, we should say that that's
personnel
for
matter?
personnel, right?
Hey, give me a moment.
Okay.
Jeez, that girl wants my job, but she's not getting it yet. Okay, make a motion to go into executive session. And again, the cameraman can go, gentleman in the back can go, and thank you. I make a motion to go into executive session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.